Tonight on Your Health, Back to College comes with warnings. Students hearing don't walk alone on campus after dark or don't get in a car with someone who has been drinking. But as 7 News reporter Lexi Bruning tells us tonight, there's another warning about getting pills in the mail.
Advocates say it's like playing a game of Russian roulette. More and more fake prescription pills laced with fentanyl are being sold on the dark web, typically geared towards teenagers and college-age students.
Oftentimes it seems that when these pills are pressed, the fentanyl may be particularly concentrated in one pill, but not in another.
Pills like Adderall, Xanax, and oxycodone are popular. In 2021, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration seized more than 50 million laced pills. These pills, typically used by students to either stay up all night to cram for a test or get some sleep before a test. These photos from the DEA show it's hard to tell the difference between what's real and what's fake.
It is very, very difficult.
Seafried Brown says there are a couple unconfirmed deaths, which may be from the pills in Jefferson County.
It stands to reason that it is here.
Seafried Brown's advice to parents: keep an open line of communication with your kids or download social media monitoring apps. Lexi Bruning, 7 News.